You know, I've debated it quite a bit about whether or not I was even going to record this damn thing. You know, because because part of me was like wondering, oh, am I going to be too harsh with this? You know, am I going to, piss people off or whatnot? But you know what? I've decided I don't fucking care. You know? Title of this thing is more than likely going to be venting about Trails Beyond the Horizon. I should have found the case before I freaking hit record, but whatever. However, this isn't a review. This isn't me, uh, you know, oh, uh, telling you the good and the bad. I have an entire fucking stream of that. And a rating video, which I still haven't recorded because I record those in order and I don't care. I still have to do the Shining Force one for the record. So. But yeah, no, I don't even know where the fuck to begin with this. In all honesty, you know? As I just clean game cases because I'm actually technically looking for the one that I'm supposed to be talking about. That's actually what I'm going to need when I'm done with all my shit. It. It. Uh, but no, at this fucking point, I need to get it all off of my chest because Trails Beyond the Horizon, as in, which none of these are the case for, or what the hell. For me, Trails Beyond the Horizon fucking just pissed me off. Objectively, it is an amazing game, okay? It is an amazing game from an objective standpoint. From a subjective standpoint, it is one of the most irritating fucking pieces of garbage I have ever experienced since fucking Undertale. And I'm not going to pretend like I fucking adore Undertale like the rest of the internet. Undertale to me was one of those games where people needed to just shut the fuck up about it. I was so sick and tired of everybody and their fucking dog praising Undertale. Undertale is the best fucking game of all time. Fuck off. And yes, I am actually a little fucking angry right now, so I apologize. This is effectively a rant. It'll be a little unhinged. Sorry. Alright, sorry if that fucking hurts your fifis. Ifis, if you can't fucking accept that somebody fucking hated this piece of fuck. But I'm not gonna fucking sit here and lie. I don't even know where the fuck to begin, honestly. And I think what's really angering me more than even the game itself, which actually might be over here now that I'm thinking about it. Nope, that's not it. Where the fuck did it go? Ugh. The thing that might be angering me more than anything else is the fact that it is honestly just the fact that I know what the reaction to this is going to be. Like, don't fucking play coy with me. Don't fucking play coy with me, okay? Don't even fucking try to be like, well, no, no. I know what the fuck the reaction to this is gonna be. Hey, of somebody fucking sitting here and pissing and shitting all over fucking Trails Beyond the Horizon. I know what the fuck the reaction to that's gonna be. It's gonna be the entire internet claiming I'm just a fucking angry rage monster who's speaking contrarian for the sake of speaking contrarian. And frankly, frankly, I don't. Whatever. I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Because, again, oops. Because again, I feel as though the reaction is exactly what I'm expecting it to be, right? You're just a hater, go fuck yourself. Is basically going to be the reaction. You might want to your knee-jerk reaction may be to balk at that, like, oh jeez, that's an exaggeration. Yeah, but this is the internet. One, this is the internet. It's so how much of an exaggeration is that really gonna be? And two, this is the Trails fandom. Um, so again, how much of an exaggeration is it really going to be? There it is. So yeah, I fucking hated this game. Okay? I fucking hated Trails Beyond the Horizon. With every fiber of my being, I hated it. And again, objectively speaking, it scored ridiculously high. But it pissed me off. And the worst part about it was that I was running into what the lore runner referred to as the cult of trails. Hills. Oops. This guy who's been otherwise praising the fucking game said one nasty thing, said he didn't like the fucking cliffhanger. Time to declare that he basically hates fiction by asking if he just fucking hates cliffhangers. I think what pisses me off the most is that whole thing of just nobody's gonna fucking take me seriously. I am gonna just fucking post this on fucking YouTube and put this in the lore run on the community announcements on the lore walkers thing and just vent and just to get the venting out of the way. So, massive spoilers, obviously. I'm probably going to put that as a disclaimer right at the top, but the only way I can properly explain how much I fucking hate this game is to just get into it, right? And fair warning, no. No, you're not going to agree with anything on this fucking list. I know this from fucking experience. Cause see, here's the sad part. Okay, here's the thing that just fucking blew my mind, and why I'm still fucking pissy about this is as of right now. I looked up. I did a search for Trails Beyond the Horizon, just a generic search on Blue Sky, Facebook, and yes, I even reinstalled Twitter because I figured, you know what, might as well check just for the lulz, right? You want to know how many people I found bitching about anything related to the game? nothing. Every fucking post was either a fucking official official advertisement for the game, which okay, yeah, whatever, or it was people posting about how it was peak fiction, which is funny because I've actually disagreed with that on multiple occasions. Asians. Hi, Trails to Azure. How you doing? I hated. I hated. I did actually hate the ending of Azure. Azure's ending was fucking garbo. Like, wow. Wow, Falcom fucking failed with that ending. That ending was absolute, utter fucking gutter trash. But I'm not here to bitch about Azure right now. And I won't be bitching about it until the Lord Runner actually has the his run of the fucking crossbow duology funded. Because and even then I'm probably gonna take a giant fucking break. I am still gonna do the fucking Sky 2 remake, but that's only because the Sky 2 remake is a remake of Sky 2, one of my favorite games. So, one of my actual favorite games. So, there's that. But there's no other course but to just get into it. So, fuck it. Let's just get into it. Let's break it down by act because I feel like that's the appropriate way to actually look at this. Okay. So, the prologue was actually awesome, you know. And that's the thing that really fucking made me cock an eyebrow like, wait, act 1 is what everybody claims is shit? Act 1 was fucking amazing. It was once you got to Act 3 that the fucking narrative dropped off a goddamn cliff because that is when we started focusing on the stupid fucking vestiges. Except not really because the vestiges were a fucking useless plot point, but we'll get into that later. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'm the only fucker on the planet that thinks the vestiges were a fucking mistake. Like, go figure. So, oh, where the fuck do I even begin? So the prologue actually was pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. Right up until Kevin said, "Hey, us villains got to stick together," which was irritating on two fronts. Because Rufus is no longer a villain for one thing, and Kevin should never be portrayed as a fucking villain ever again because that was the whole point of him giving up the Heretic Hunter title. We'll come back to that. Trust me. Like I said, I'm the only. You're not gonna agree with any of the fucking points. Right, so yeah, keep the Heretic Hunter thing in the back of your mind until we get to that part. But otherwise, all good stuff. The prologue was great. Then Act 1 was all about Van. Okay, that's a little fucked in the head, but whatever. I mean, the way they structured it is it's the way they structured it. Okay, we're gonna play as that. Yeah, you don't get to play as Reen or Kevin again until Act 2. The pacing of this thing is fucking hot garbage. I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand how anybody can call this good pacing. This fucker took me 160 fucking hours. And apparently that's slow. This thing can take people anywhere from fucking 70 hours to 200 hours. You fucking think that's enough? I mean, people were bitching when fucking Persona 5 was taking 110 hours. Imagine just under double that fucking length. with half the fucking content, I feel like pointing out. At least as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. So Van is investigating Altered Dawn because we have to introduce new villain factions. Technically two, but it's really just one. And because Altered Dawn leads to the Vestiges, which is just, oh my god. We'll get there. We'll get there. So Act 2 rolls around. Van's Act 2, I don't even fucking remember. It was mostly just him continuing to investigate Altered Dawn. It was just kind of there. Rean's route was actually kind of cool. Him and Class 7 in Basel was actually kind of neat. Them taking on the 4 SPGs was an interesting concept. In Basel, when they got to Long Lie, it became fucking stupid. Like Falcom were fucking guzzling paint thinner by the fucking ocean load, but rants for later. So Rean's route was actually legit. I'll just go ahead and say that. Rean's route was legit. Great stuff. But then there was Kevin's route. Now Kevin's route was actually fine for the most part in Act 2. Some good comedy, some good stuff. Him reverting back to basically being a perverted asshat that wants to go fucking see strippers was dumb. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It was fucking dumb. But whatever. I'm not gonna harp on it because that's the least egregious thing that happens here. Because everything to do with Kevin's subplot is fucking useless to the main plot. Absolutely fucking useless. Maybe they'll find Horizon 2 will find some way for it to tie in, but for now, it's completely fucking useless to the plot. Because the whole thing is that Kevin is trying to investigate what happened in Tharbad by investigating why Dingo was here just after Chapter 3 of Daybreak 1. And as it turns out, apparently Kevin's target and the reason for the return of the Heretic Hunter is because the Septium Church has decided, okay, it's time to kill Professor Hamilton because we're fucking stupid. And by us, I mean Falcom, because we come up with a story about her stealing water from 20 years in the future. Yes, I am going that far. 20 years in the future. You're 20 years in the future. Now, obviously, you don't actually find this out until the later part of Act 2. Actually, no, we're still in Act 2. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But you find this out in Act 2, or the beginning of Act 3. I don't actually remember, but you find it out in the second line of Kevin's thing where she stole water from the future, which by the way, outside of her using the replica genesis has zero meaning on the vestiges, zero meaning on anything, and is even fucking mentioned by fucking Nina at the end, in that the decision will not be overturned because it's separate to the overall fucking plot, the overall fucking final, the final shit, that ties into the fucking cliffhanger. So, what the unholy mother of fuck was the point of that plot point then? What the fuck was the point of Professor Hamilton's sin if you weren't gonna do anything with it? And no, I don't care that it's, well, we have to wait for Horizon 2. What fucking relevance does Professor Hamilton's sin of stealing water from 20 years in the fucking future have to do with Horizon 1? And what fucking purpose does it serve? I'll tell you what fucking purpose it serves. Nothing! It is padding! Until Horizon 2 does something with it, it's fucking padding! And then the way Kevin's route fucking ends is even fucking worse. Because, so Kevin finally gets up to Professor Hamilton at the end of Act 3, and he confronts Professor Hamilton. She starts talking like a fucking Bond villain. Right? This was necessary. This was what I did, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, whatever. What the fuck ever. And then Sheena Derrick shows up. I haven't even fucking talked about my problems with the Vestiges. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, no, I absolutely fucking hated it. It was a useless subplot meant to just bring back the heretic hunter thing. And quite frankly, I gotta be the only fucking person on the planet who thinks that Kevin should never have fucking brought back his heretic hunter thing. It's basically the equivalent of time travel in Kingdom Hearts 3. Heh, how ironic considering we're dealing with the Septarian of Time here. But whatever. So then we finally get to Van's route. Reen's route, I have nothing more to say. It was all awesome. Basically, front to back, it was awesome. The Kuragane boss fight being a status effect fetish nightmare, notwithstanding. Ending, but let's put that to the side. Narrative wise, it was fine. Well, at least until Oak and Olympia showed back up, and the game being fucking keeping them hidden while announcing that it's them. Whatever. Then there's and then there's so then there's Van's route. So I skipped over the end part of Van's Act 2 because that's when the Van is the one that deals with the Vestiges more than any other faction, right? They briefly show up in Reen's route. They fucking show up to be fucking ridiculous in Kevin's route right at the end. And like seriously, a double stigma Kevin is fucking held off by a single vestige. Okay, yeah, sure, game, sure. You know, I don't fucking care if that is Sheena. You know, a time displaced Sheena. That's fucking stupid. Period. Oh, well, you know what? No, we can tackle that later. I was gonna mention Sniper Bitch, but no, Sniper Bitch we gotta fucking talk about later. We'll talk about a bit later. So At the end of Act 2, the Vestiges show up and the Tyrant beats up on Risha. Yeah, we find out that Vestige is the Tyrant. Okay, sure. Would have been better if it was a future Aaron, but what to go in line with the fuck with them being coy with the fucking other one, but whatever. So all but the sniper bitch and obviously the ones that show up in the other routes get unmasked, right? Risha gets bodied by the Tyrant. Whatever. I hate it, but that's because I find the Vestiges to be Mary Sue's more than anything. So, shrug. Then Giacomo gets unmasked as the instigator, as the masked instigator. You don't remember who Giacomo is? Oh, well, that's because he was the fucking slimy fuck who got murdered at the start of Daybreak 1. Yeah, the one that got murdered by Almada. Which actually I saw a post saying that was one of the problems with the Vestiges was that the Immortals in Cold Steel 4 were handled a lot better because they weren't all just the villain fact. They weren't just the ILF again, right? Because the Vestiges are basically just Almada again, with the Tyrant and Future Fairy. I'm not even gonna fucking pretend like that's who that is. And of course, and Sheena Dirk fucking being thrown in for good measure because they were summoned by Professor Hamilton. Also, the way they reveal to Catra that Professor Hamilton is shady is just. The scene is good. The fact that it took 30 hours longer than it should have is not. As a reveal that should have happened in Act 2, my opinion. But all of that pales in comparison to what happens in Anchorville. Because we finally get an explanation as to what the Vestiges are kind of meant to be. They're a quote-unquote contingency plan of Professor Hamilton's. We are told this by a resurrected Melchior. Now, before you go jumping down my throat, narrative. The narrative has resurrected him to use him again. And even if it's in the same vein as Weissman from Sky 3, that doesn't mean it wasn't Weissman's face talking to Kevin. Also, Sky 3 had the fucking common courtesy to explain that right off the fucking bat instead of being coy about it. And pretending like that is Melchior. Melchior basically talks up that at best, the Vestiges are a necessary evil. Melchior is saying that. Fucking excuse you? No, seriously, fucking excuse you? Whatever. And that leads us into the finale. So, I haven't even. There's two things I haven't mentioned yet. And I'm sure somebody will ask if I don't bring it up. The Grimgarten and Project Leviathan. I'm not even going to be coy about it. I'm just going to call it call it by its actual name. Project Leviathan is Project Leviathan has one fatal flaw to it. From a narrative perspective, it has one fatal flaw. Why was Van not brought on board? No, seriously, why was Van not brought on board? You can still have the Agnes fucking betraying Van by walking off because Van won't stick his dick in her, But why wasn't he let in on the plan? It makes no fucking sense. Hell, arguably the twist with frickin' Kincaid and being Grendel Shaddai honestly would have been even more interesting would have been all the more potent if Van had been with Gramhart from the beginning instead of trying to paint Gramhart as even remotely shady, which he's not. Again, this I summed it up perfectly. This isn't an idiot plot. This is a fake drama plot. There is no part of this where Van should have been left out of the proceedings. Period. Especially with the vestiges running around. You could literally have them be the ones dealing with the vestiges on behalf of the presidential office. You know? Maybe even have Kincaid helping us out here and there with like intel that he fucking forwards over or something to make the CID actually look competent instead of secretive and evil? Whatever. And then, and then, and then. Before I get to that, actually, I was gonna move on to Agnes. No. We can't move on to Agnes yet. We have to talk about the Grim Garden, which I haven't mentioned. First of all, I actually don't mind the Grim Garden. It's fine. It's whatever. You know, best part of the game, honestly. But that leads me to a problem with this narrative. Why are Ouroboros sidelined? Yeah, I know. They have that pact with the president not to interfere with Levitan. That doesn't mean they have. That doesn't mean they have to not mess with other shit. There's a difference between messing with Project Levitan, which they're not doing, and being sidelined by the vestiges, which is what they are doing. Now, granted, you could argue their main objective is in the Grim Garden, which at that point, the fuck is the point of everything else on the surface, you know? But whatever. But the problem here, for me anyway, is Ouroboros have not been the main villains in any capacity since Cold Steel 4. We've had 4 games where they have not been the focus at all. Individual characters of the society have shown up. Yes. Novartis in Reverie, Harwood in both Daybreak 1 and 2, and this one actually too. And then all of the Ouroboros stuff that happens in here. Here's the problem. Novartis was an observer in in Reverie. Harwood was an observer in Daybreak 1. Harwood was kind of involved in doing shit in Daybreak 2, but apparently that was against the society's rules, so you can't even say the society is behind anything in Daybreak 2, because Daybreak 2 is filler. Full stop is fucking filler. And then this game, they're sidelined by the vestiges. I almost feel like you could have had them interpret the letter of the law when it comes to their pact, right? Hell, even Novartis seemed like he was going to break the pact, but then the Grandmaster, of course, stopped him. Great scene. The Grandmaster scene was perfect. Was absolutely perfect. Make no mistake. But here's the problem. But here's the problem. Daybreak... Well, there's no nice way to say this. Daybreak, this should have been Van's story without Reen and Kevin here. Or it should have been just... Reen and Kevin should have been integrated better into the story. And this, honestly, in my opinion, should not have been a setup for the finale of the Daybreak arc. You know? Even the cat's sick of my bitching about this fucking game. But there's one more thing we gotta talk about. Because it's apparently the thing that it is gonna make me sound like the biggest asshole. Yes. Oh my god. Hang on. Interruptions. So yes. First and foremost, let me go ahead and just fucking say it. I'm sick and tired of how much the narrative is trying to push Yes and Van to be a couple. I know. I know what you're gonna say, but Blue Wolf, they're not. Yeah, except if they weren't, Yes would have said, no, I understand. He would have taken the Chloe route, right? Oh, I understand. But I understand. It's a shame, but I understand, I get it. But, no, that's not what she says. She says in her during her confession as a defense mechanism that Van should be fucking all of the women in his life. Her, Elaine, and Judith, Sarah, and Shizuna being the ones that and Ren being all of the ones that she fucking mentions. First of all, ew. Second of all, fucking ew. And third of all, if Falcom goes with any version of that, then Falcom are officially a bunch of fucking porn writers and should never be taken seriously ever a fucking again. Regardless, though. So Agnes, basically, because she's Epstein's granddaughter, can use the Genesis to do a frickin' save state to stop the Grand Reset. Okay, cool. Question. Why was the the Grand Reset still counting down, not the fucking cliffhanger? Why the hell did we have to have the whole Agnes did the reset thing as the cliffhanger? What was the point of that? Especially considering they're basically setting it up to be undone. Here's the thing. Falcom now have 3 options when it comes to how to deal with this cliffhanger. And I guess we'll see which one they picked, because apparently Horizon 2 is already written, but there are 3 options they can go with for Horizon 2 and how to deal with this cliffhanger. Option 1. Full restore to the previous timeline. No changes. Option 2. Full reset, and Agnes is just not there. And then, other events happen. Maybe Van remembers, maybe Van doesn't. I don't know. Option 3. They restore it to the full thing, but effectively, well, I guess there's 4 options. Well, no, hang on. They restore it to the full thing and get Agnes back, and then she loses her power, her time reset powers or whatever, and then they go after the Septarian of Time. Option 2 is that they just reset it with Agnes being just effectively erased from the timeline as the credits of Horizon 1 hinted at. Or option 3, effectively option 1, but with Agnes being being dissolved or whatever after time resumes. And of course, because Falcom will want the fucking gut punch, yeah, everybody will remember that Agnes existed, remember that she made the sacrifice, and that she's fucking dead. Those are their options. It's gonna go one of those ways. As for what Kevin and Reen's roles are going to be in the next one, I think they're going to be involved, obviously. I think what's probably going to happen is that I think all three of the main protags of this thing are going to remember, right? For one reason or another, right? Although, if you want to really make this a high tier threat, there is one way you can fricking do it. Like, I know the way I want to do it with Kevin, right? Oh no, my heretic hunter mission failed or whatever, and Reese is just, or I had a bad dream or whatever, and he's slowly realizing it wasn't a dream. And Reese is there comforting him because, I'm sorry, Kevin without Reese is fucking stupid. Period. But with Reen, you know what I would love? This is fanfic. This is fan wanky, so take this with a grain of salt. But you know what I would love for Reen's first scene to be? He wakes up. He goes through his morning routine, morning practice, all the thing. Everything's the same except something's a little weird. Like, maybe have Reen just stop for a moment and just kind of look around as if something feels off about all this. And then he walks into, his garage or whatever, like whatever hangar he's got, where his Tearfring is usually there. And then we hear DC Douglas say, "Good morning, Reen." And that just causes Reen to stop and just go wide-eyed. And you're like, "Wait, why would Rufus be in the hangar?" DC Douglas did not only voice Rufus, but who Reen would look over to see. Reen would look see, and look up, and staring back at him would be Valimar the Ashen Knight. Neat. He calls up Crow. We've got something weird here, and then Crow is just like, "Oh, you mean how we remember being over in Longlai, and the fact that a divine knight is staring at you? I'm assuming Valimar is staring at you right now." Yeah. How do you know? Yeah, Ordine's staring at me right now. Oh, I know I wouldn't want that for like every single arc, but any arc that they're in, I would want them back, basically. Because I do think Reverie was hinting at the return of the Divine Knights. Knights. That they could come back, right? I mean, if Agnes can frickin' do a save state of the world, I don't see how the Divine Knights couldn't come back. Again, fan wanky, but whatever. I suppose, in the end, all I can do is shrug. I hate Trails Beyond the Horizon. Go ahead, rake me over the coals in the comments. I don't care. I hate this. I hate. I fucking hate this game. And I'm not going to apologize for saying that. It is the best game I will never fucking play again. Blue Wolf Alex the Lore Walker signing out. Have a good one. Fuck Trails Beyond the Horizon.